the IRS, and stimulus checks. The important announcement we'll be getting this week. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now this week we're going to be getting a very important announcement out of the IRS in regards to stimulus checks that will impact millions upon millions of Americans all across the country, and it's a very important announcement that is going to open up a whole new can of worms for a lot of people. Therefore, that's why I want to discuss it and what we can anticipate with this announcement. So let's get right into it. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so. And because I am your one and only daily advocate, it is my dedication, my commitment, and my promise to you and everybody right here in the community to continuously watch all this new information hitting the wire, doing the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay posted on what's actually going on right now, and most importantly, how it's going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course anything out there right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of. I know it's a really busy time right now, and I completely understand it is a very uncertain time, which is exactly why I'm here for you every single day, because I just want to help you out and keep you posted on what is actually going on. It's a crazy time out there. Anyway, thanks again for joining me. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet so you don't miss any videos going forward, and let's get into it and talk about this announcement out of the IRS, what we can anticipate and what they're likely going to say about stimulus checks. All right, so here's what it comes down to. Now that we are obviously early in 2023, we're still in the time of year right now where a lot of people are looking back to 2022. So in this video, I want to talk about the announcement out of the IRS and again, what they're pertaining to in regards to these stimulus checks. Now, this is in regards to 2022. Why? Well, we got to get some guidance out of the IRS on stimulus checks. Now, here's what it comes down to. According to the reports, last year in 2022, 19 different states sent out stimulus checks to millions upon millions of residents across the entire country. Sounds good, right? Well, yeah, it's pretty good. However, here's the deal. Some of these checks that were issued on the state level may be taxable by the IRS. All right, so let me break down the details about this a little bit more clearly here. Now remember, back in early 2020, late 2020, and early 2021, we got stimulus checks from the federal government. Those were not taxable because they were administered by the federal government and it was an advance on a refundable tax credit. In other words, it's not taxable, okay? It was an advanced payment on just basically a tax credit that was going to be showing up on a tax return in the event somebody filed. However, on the state level, it's different, right? State and federal laws are not the same, not even close to the same. So here's the deal. The checks that were sent out by the states may be taxable by the federal government. The federal government may be stepping in and saying, yo, you got some checks from your state, therefore you need to pay some taxes on it, okay? So like I said earlier, this is going to open up a whole new can of worms for some people out there who got these checks and feeling like, I'm good, but are you really? Well, let's just talk about that because that is the announcement we're going to be getting this week. And honestly, this is going to be a huge headache for a lot of people. Now, let me break down the details a little bit more clearly on this. And again, like I said, 19 states last year in 2022 sent out stimulus checks to their residents or, a portion of their residents because it was based on income in most cases. However, in some instances, these checks administered by the states may be taxable, and in some instances, they are not taxable. For example, let me give you a quick example. Back in 2021, California, this is just an example, this is not just pertaining to California, this is across many states out there. Like I said, 19 alone last year, but I'm using this as an example. In 2021, the state of California sent out checks. Remember those? They were called Golden State Stimulus Checks. Now, here's the thing. Legally, those were classified as disaster relief payments. Well, guess what? Disaster relief payments were not taxable by the federal government. So, as a result of those checks back in 2021, out of the state of California, those would not be taxable by the IRS, which, by the way, this is not tax advice. This is not accounting advice. I do not know your situation. I can't tell you what to do here, okay? So I'm just being real with you. I got to tell you the details about this, though. So that is just one quick example. However, here's what it comes down to, and this is what the announcement out of the IRS this week is going to indicate. It is going to be, according to my understanding on this, on a state-by-state level, depending on how your state classified the payments. If your state classified the payments wrongly, or I shouldn't say wrongly. Let me figure out a different way to say that. If your state's classified the payments as a different way than saying maybe disaster relief or whatever would have made them ineligible for federal taxes, your state might be one of those that falls into the category where the IRS says, these payments are taxable on the federal level. So, can you see the headache behind this? Here's what's going to happen about this, and this is what I anticipate with the announcement and the research that I did on this. It looks like the IRS is going to go through on a state-by-state level and determine the classification of these payments on every single state level. For the 19 states that sent out the checks, they're going to determine what were the payments actually for? How are they classified, right? And depending on that classification of the payment, that is going to determine, okay, are they taxable by the federal government or are they not? Wow, this is going to cause a huge headache, like I said, for a lot of people, okay? Not a good situation. So actually what they're advising people to do right now, according to the understanding that I found and the research that I was doing, is they were saying, hey, just hold up on your federal taxes for a minute here until we figure out what we're going to do about this, okay? So on the state level, a lot of times these checks are not taxable on the state level because they were administered by the state. But then the federal government is saying, but wait, we might want a cut of that, okay? So, wow, what a mess, right? Unbelievable. So, anyway, again, all roads lead back to federal checks. Now, again, I've said this before in other videos many, many times, and I want to say it again right now. Anytime that we get something on the federal level, it is way, way better than on the state level. This is an example why. This is a perfect reason and example of how states, they kind of just jack stuff up all the time, right? But when it comes down to the federal, it's all-encompassing. Anything that's administered by the federal government is all-encompassing all across the country. Whereas state by state, the rules in Washington are going to be different than the rules in California. The rules in California are different than the rules in Texas. The rules in Texas are different than the rules in Tennessee or Arizona or New York or North Carolina. It literally doesn't matter. They're all different based on the state by state, right? Whatever's within the confines of the borders of that state, those rules are different than the state that's right next door. You know what I mean? Total mess. Anyway, so we are still waiting for this announcement. So when I see this announcement out of the IRS, I will give you an update here whenever we get it. I'm not really sure when we're going to get it. But whenever we do get that announcement, of course, I'll bring it to your attention right away. I'll need to look through that thing and kind of decipher how I'm going to present that to you. I'm honestly not really sure because like I said, it's on a state-by-state basis. So we could have basically 19 different sets of, essentially rules how this is going to play out. It's not going to be a pretty picture. This is not good, okay? Now, again, I'm not saying that anything's wrong with it. I'm just simply saying this is just how they're setting it up, okay? So when it all comes down to it, like I said, all roads lead back to why federal checks are way better than state by state, because this is just going to create a huge headache for a lot of people. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on this. Now, in some instances, I want to say this much. Please don't get too worked up about this. Please don't worry about it, especially if you're in one of the states that received a check last year. Here's why. Because your income may still be below the threshold where, it doesn't really matter, okay? Now, again, this isn't tax advice. I don't know your situation at all. Everybody's situation is very, very different. I'm just simply saying, because of your income, where you might be sitting, if you're low income or fixed income, something like that, it's all going to be determined by your income, okay? If your income is low enough where even if you got a payment, you still might fall into the threshold where you're still good to go and you still may not be falling into the category where you might need to pay taxes on it. Kind of makes sense? So it all kind of plays into where your income is, and again, all of the other deductions you may have, the standard deduction, all of the things like that. So again, I'm not going to say, I can't advise you here in this short video, but I'm just simply saying, let me keep you posted on this. Just hang tight here for the next couple of days until we get this announcement. I'm going to do some extensive research on it. I'll decipher all the details, and then I'll try to come back and make it into, a video that actually makes sense. I just imagine this is going to be a headache of an announcement, but I'm not really sure. We'll have to see here. Maybe they just say, you know what, just forget it. Let's just call it a wash here. I can't imagine that's going to happen, but maybe they do. Maybe they come forward and just say, you know what, let's just make sure that all the payments are non-taxable. But again, according to my understanding, that's not how they're doing it. It's all based on the classification of the payment. Wow. Anyway, that's the announcement we're waiting for out of the IRS this week. So as I do get more details, of course, I'll be right here for you, breaking it all down. But I want to bring this to your attention, let you know what's going on here. But yeah, this is going to be, let me throw this out there. Let's just say that you're somebody that got a check last year from your state. And all of a sudden, the IRS comes forward and says, we want some of that. We want 10%, 15, 20%, 22%, whatever it happens to be, right? Because of the tax brackets and things like that. That's not going to be a good situation, because how many people just have that money laying around that they can pay into the IRS? Like nobody? Yeah, exactly, right? So anyway, let me keep you posted on this as I do get more details, but I wanted to bring this to your attention because it's a pretty big deal. Honestly, this is a pretty big announcement. Anyway, yeah, I'll keep you posted on this one. I just can't even imagine what the announcement is going to be, okay? Either way, I'm going to continue watching it very closely. As I do get more details, I'll be right here for you, breaking it down and giving you those updates. So again, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. And if you're in one of the states that did not receive a check, then, as of right now, unfortunately, you didn't get a check, but, you're kind of in the clear as of right now anyway, okay? So just remember, this was all last year, 2022, because when it comes down to the IRS and tax filing and stuff like that, we're always looking at the previous year, because right now, 2023, we're preparing taxes for last year, 2022, okay? So just want to make that very clear. Anyway, enjoy your day. I'll keep you posted. Stay tuned, and I'll have you some more updates here soon. Anyway, enjoy, and catch you again later in the next video.